Folks, it's In Between the Pages with James Lott Jr. I'm James Lott Jr., of course. And we have a returning guest. I like this. I do this all the time. We have guests who have several books out, and we talk about each one. And this one, we're going to talk about why it's a short read. And many of you guys know, or who follow me know this. I had started the Really Short Story Project about 8 years ago. So I have books that are out that are under 100 pages. I have a bunch on Amazon. You can check those as a whole. You can check all those out. But I'm all about the short reads. There are a few that are over 100, but most of mine are under 100 pages because short reads are just practical and easy breezy, and you take them anywhere. And this book can fit in your back pocket. If you have big pockets, backpack. It can fit in your hand when you're running around. It's called Zephyrs War. And again, we have James R. Gregory back with us. He wrote it. Hi, James.
Hey, how are you, Jim? It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Okay. So I was saying before we started, it's a book that's about, as I'll tell you right now, about 140 pages. And so we were saying, I want to say this on camera because, like I said, my fans know I do short story stuff. You're doing the same. You kind of doing something similar. So talk about why this book, Zephyrs War, is packed full of story. Why short story?
Well, I believe that, well, first of all, the whole fiction writing issue is how large is a book when it becomes a novel. It goes from a short story to a novella to a novel. And there's a magic number in there. It's 40,000 words. And my books run around 35 to 38,000 words. In my mind, that's enough. That's enough. If you're telling the story and the story is wrapped up, I'm going to conclude the story at its natural ending. Quite often you find authors writing, forcing things in another chapter, another angle, something that's less relevant to the story, and they push it into the story to get it over that magical number of 40,000 words. And Breakfast at Tiffany's was a novella. That you can write. Oh God, there was The Red Badge of Courage was a novella, and I think there's a good story in here, and it doesn't need to be longer than that. And one of my critics called it, said, "I am the king of short reads." I'll take that. I
Right.
think I'm not sure if it's a compliment, but I'll take it.
Right.
And why not? Why not? If you can tell your story in a shorter number of words, why not? And by the way, some of them go over 40,000, but that's not the issue. It's just that I write what I think it takes to tell a good story.
So since this is in between the pages, we're gonna go into that a little bit now because when I first started 8 years ago, I was into what they call there's several names for it: flash fiction, microfiction, sudden fiction. So my first book was 54 short stories of micro, short, and flash fiction, volume one, huge hit, did great for me, and I had 54 stories. So folks at home, we're talking anywhere from 6 words to 50 words. It's kind of like they're very short, or a paragraph. Paragraph maybe two. Um, what's funny was people came back to me going, "I want to know more about that story. I want to know more about that story."
Interesting.
So a couple of books I have out. I expanded the story. I started from that and said, "If you want to know the original story, go to this book. Here's the spinoff." So I did it a couple of times, and it's been six. I have one called The Pill. That's my most successful series, where you take. I'll give a little spoiler, folks. You take the pill. This guy is tired of taking it. He stops taking it one day to see what happens. So in the short story, it kind of ended. I guess it kind of ended in a cliffhanger. Kind of. I didn't. I didn't plan on. I didn't look at it that way. But folks were like, Well, but, and I was like, okay, so now I'm fleshing out a whole story. But I agree with you. I'm fascinated with storytelling that's short. There was when it was Twitter, there was Twitterature, stories being told in 140 characters. Again, 6 word stories, 10 word stories. I love this kind. I mean, Stephen King had a bunch of novellas out. He's always mixed in with his gigantic books like It and The Stand, where I'm reading them for 6 months. He also had shorter books that came out in between, that were satisfying. Also, I mean, some of his greatest stories, The Mist, Dinner. I mean, a lot of them were all novellas. Stand by Me. A lot of them were all short little stories. So I'm with you, James. I think that there's a fine art though to writing a shorter story. Because you can go too long in a story, but you can also come up short, can't you?
Well, you've got to complete your thought. You've got to have a strategy, and you've got to know where the book is going, and you've got to conclude in a way that is very powerful. It has to have a good ending. You don't cut those things short. You don't trim them just to for the sake of trimming. I try to keep mine upbeat and focused on a powerful ending. I don't think they get any more powerful than the one that I than
Okay, no,
Zephyrs.
no, no, because now we'll get into this. Yes, no. So here's the thing. I'm gonna say it out loud. We're gonna manifest it. This is a good series.
Ah,
I could see it in a series format.
you,
Probably on streaming. Okay,
well, that's a very interesting point. I don't have a lot of fans clamoring for more work. Okay, I'm not that popular yet, but I do have fans asking for more of these characters.
yes.
And which is really very interesting. And so, what right now I am working on a brand new book. So this would be coming out in 2026 or
Okay.
seven.
Okay.
It's called Bloody Moon, and it brings back all these characters. Now that they're well established in their firm, the big success in capitalism, and uh, there's a some rot within the organization, and it's a good. I'm off to a good start. I'm about halfway through.
Okay.
Uh, yeah.
So I'm gonna read this one part. This is on the back, folks. I like the names, the Stackhouse last name, Zephyr, I like all that stuff. Okay. So Zephyr cultivated sunflowers in the shadow of Chernobyl nuclear power plant, yearning for a life beyond the fields. That first sentence, I've already got a picture. Already got a picture. Determined to escape his humble beginnings, Zep flees his family farm and sets his sights on New York City. I'm getting a picture right there. Driven by a burning desire to amass wealth. Okay, we got it. As he delves into finance, and then there we go, the world of finance in New York, where the only strong-willed and the cunning can hope to survive, Zep discovers the tantalizing promise of riches on Wall Street. And that, folks, is just like one part of the story. Like just that one paragraph alone, I was like, "Ooh, you set it up so I couldn't wait to go in and read it." And as you're reading it, folks, there's so many concurrent stories going through at the same time. That's why I said it's like it was packed full of stuff, kids. I was like, oh my goodness. So what? So first of all, because this is in between the pages, where did the story come from?
Well, the seed of it was born as a result of my travels. I get in my professional career, I got to travel and give keynote speeches around the world on my subject of corporate branding,
Well,
which
that's
is woven into the story. So a lot of the experiences, like the Wall Street experience and that sort of thing, those are real. I mean, I had those experiences, and so you know, the, so I was at a conference in Kiev, Ukraine, it's a beautiful country. I mean, it just breaks my heart to see what's going on there. And I was having a great time giving a talk, and noticed they tried a Russian media journalist was there and asked to interview me. Well, that's great. You know, I was thrilled to do that. But my handlers in Kiev, this is way before the war. My handlers said, "No, no, no, we're not going to let them interview you." I said, "Why not?" They said they're not worthy of doing this. And I said, "Well, that doesn't, that doesn't bode well. Well, I said, I'd really like to do this interview." And they said, "Okay, but be careful." And I said, I don't know what I'm being careful of. Am I going to divulge state secrets? I have nothing. Well, I had the interview, and the people from the Ukraine and the folks from Russia were at it, at each other's throats. And I'm sitting there like a babe in the woods, not having any idea what was going on.
Right.
And this is the same time when their prime minister was being poisoned by the Russians, and
Right.
and
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and there were riots in the streets, and we almost decided not to go. But I said, let's not be fearful. Let's give it a shot. And so I had that, and I said, this is an issue that is not going to go away. It had a feeling like World War III was about to start, and so that was the seed of the idea. This tension, not yet a confrontation between two countries, but this underlying dislike for each other and thinking one side is culturally better than the other side, and back and forth battling in a subtle way. And so I felt there was a good, the Russian mafia is a good representative of bad, and can do evil. But this guy, this Zephyr, he's a capitalist that kind of brings out the worst in capitalism. He's ruthless. And as the book opens up, it man, you think he's the enemy. You
Right.
think this guy is bad. This guy's the antagonist. Well, no, I switched that around. He's the protagonist, and it's just an interesting way to approach it, and it's based on that seed. The other interesting thing is Chernobyl always fascinated me. I mean, that was a major event
Yes, it was. And
in the Ukraine, uh, and so it was one of those things where Russia was responsible for running that system, but Ukraine, it was on Ukraine territory. And and so I always wondered what happened to those people. I mean, other than the ones that were fried, the ones that survived it, how did they survive it? And then what happened to them? Were they given compensation? Were they allowed to go back and live on the land, which they were not, and that sort of thing. So those two factors really interested me and fascinated me, and they are woven into the book.
yeah, and I think you successfully created a world that we're able to immerse ourselves in. Um, going from one iconic place to another, New York City, iconic place, Wall
Yeah.
Street, iconic place. You bring his brother with him. So it's like, now we have a familial thing going on. I tell you, folks, there's so many things going on concurrently. I'm telling you. So so the brother's there too. And so there's family and family conflict. And what does that mean? Money, which is always, the root of all evil, let's say, is always there. But see, I looked at it too, though. I looked at him kind of like, well, in America, that's what we stand for. We're like the most capitalistic, kind of in terms of um how we look and how we seem to act. It's all spin, 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 buy, spin, spin. Like we just amass, and um that's so it's like, why wouldn't he want to be part of that? Like you said, he grew up in this area that was, it's horrible, it's poor, and why not would you want something better for yourself? But then when you add the Russian mob in there and temptation and things like that, it's like it's I felt like nobody's born bad. I mean, you just kind of
Right.
you could stumble into it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, like the brother whose name is Ziggy, I love coming up with these names. Ziggy was very depressed. I mean, the entire family is wiped out in this by
Right.
radiation, just everyone. And these two survive, the two brothers survive because they're away at college, agricultural college.
Right.
Well, they come back, they want to go back to the farm, and they're not allowed. That's in the exclusion zone. And Ziggy is very, very depressed, clinically depressed, and his brother is trying everything he can to get him out of that depression. And so what he does is he paints a picture for him. He's let's become capitalists. I mean, that's a totally different world for us. It would be it's interesting for us to do that, and we'll become cigar smoking, champagne drinking capitalists in the capital of capitalism, New York City. And his brother finally buys into that vision, and off they go. I mean, and so it saved him, that vision that Zepp was able to paint for him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but then again, you said again, you lose your family, you lose your where you're from, so to speak. It's not the same anymore. It's gone. You can't go back. Psychologically, it must do a lot just on you. It must be just be crazy. Crazy always saying, well, James, you can't go back to Los Angeles. That's it. Yeah.
Right.
I know you grew up there and your family was there, but they're all gone and you can't go. You have to stay in San Francisco or you got to stay in Sacramento. Like, you can't come like, I can't go home. Like, I can't go home. Like, that must be just a crazy thing that many people went through in real life.
Yeah, it's I can't imagine it. It just incredible.
So do you, this is actually, I don't think I've asked this question before on somebody. Do you, are you more character driven or story driven?
Oh, both, both. I have been a storyteller since I was 3 years old. This is a true story. This is the only time I've ever told it.
I love it.
My mother and I were going to into town on a bus, and I was fascinated by the rivets on the bus. But I started looking at these rivets, and I felt like I could make those. I could do this kind of work. And I started telling a story that I made this bus. And I'm telling everybody on the bus that I made it. And they said, well, shouldn't you correct him? She said, no, my mom was just great. She said, no, let him go. We know that he didn't make it, but let's see what he has to say. And that really, it's kind of the story of how I started telling stories. I mean, I just always had an imagination. And in my business, I used it all the time to help clients to build their businesses and build their brands. I would basically tell their story.
Yeah, and I like that. Was there any character in this book that even surprised you as you were writing it?
Oh my goodness. Well, one of the things I like to do in the book, and not many people do this anymore, is I like to have a cast of characters. And I like to be able to, for if the reader begins to question, who is that person? I like them to be able to go to this tab and be able to see
It's like,
who is who it is and their relationship to it's on page
yep,
133.
yep. Yeah.
Um, and my favorite character in here is, let me see if I can find him.
Let me see. Let me see. Let me guess. Let me see if I guess for it. Let me see if I can guess which one would be your favorite.
All right.
Your favorite probably is Andre.
No, oh, he's good. He's
Good.
good.
Okay. Let me see if I guess. Let me see if I guess. Okay, so it's obviously not him, but I see. I was good though. I was like, so I was
Yeah.
like, maybe him. Okay. Or is it Agent Stark?
Oh no, no. Agent Stark is a FBI stiff. He's I. All right. It's McGregor.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Rob Roy McGregor, and he now when I was writing this, I have readers who read it and give me feedback. So I have about a dozen of them, and I killed off McGregor
Right.
in, in my draft,
Oh.
and they not all of them, but several of them wrote back and said, "You cannot kill McGregor. You cannot. You will, McGregor is somebody you got to take forward and
Wow.
in
Okay.
your next stories." And so I killed off his partner. Oh, I shouldn't be saying this, but
That's one spoiler, folks. One spoiler. There's only one spoiler.
yeah, spoiler alert.
It's enough in this book that you'll will be surprised. Especially at the end. You'll be surprised. You'll be
But,
surprised.
but McGregor was, if you recall, he's driving that funky little
Yeah.
truck, the Jeep, and he's giving the finger to the Russians, and
Yes.
you know.
He was fun. He was fun. I like the boss, the mob boss. I liked Andre. So I mean that was somebody that I kind of
Well, I loved him for his nastiness.
yeah, always saw you nasty. Oh yeah. Charismatically nasty. Oh yeah. I love
Yeah,
that. Yeah, I love that.
yeah. Do
I
you know
thought
that it was actually hard for me to write about him, write his character, because I don't think that way. I'm not a nasty person, generally speaking.
yes.
But man, that guy's nasty.
Yeah. Oh yes. Um are in this book, are there Easter eggs for like your friends and family in there? Like you have to like is the diner named after somebody you know? Like there's so things like that. I mean, like Mabel's like, is there something like because in some of my books I may throw a last name in there or a street name, go so my friends go, oh, So did you do that?
Well, it's just funny that you mentioned Mabel as
The
the
diner.
diner. That's the one.
Okay,
Mabel.
I knew I had a feeling. That's why I had a feeling. I had a feeling. I read the book. I had a feeling. I was like, I know how to read books. I had a feeling.
That
It's
I'm a little disappointed you guessed it,
I
right out
know.
of.
I just it happens, folks. But I like stuff like that because that's as writers we get to do that. We get to maybe name a character after our cat or something we had in real life or
Yeah.
whatever. You do whatever you want. Or a best friend you had, you just use the last name or first name, things like that. So I just love that kind of stuff. Um, so I do want. I was like, I have a couple. Let's have a couple of my questions here. Oh, don't call me. Leave me alone. Um, actually, so when you chose Chernobyl as kind of like the background. So we're talking the 90s. So you were very much you could have done this in the 80s during the Cold War. You could have done this in the 2000s. I mean, like after 9/11. Like, why did you choose that kind of time period to write this story?
Interesting. I don't know why. I mean I think it's kind of a blank slate in many ways. There are not a lot of stories that I'm aware of that are time that have that as a time frame for, and so I found it fascinating. I liked the time frame in terms of IPO. I liked the fact that we had the Chernobyl as a big issue to discuss. So most of my books, well, Never mind. I was going to say most of them are current t books, but I've got one coming out called Ghost Town, and that one is the manuscript is complete and it's in production, and that takes place in 1889.
Oh,
So a historical fiction book. So
okay.
you know, yeah, I I the time frame is an interesting decision, but it's
Right.
not one that really drives everything. Well, it does once you have to set it right away, or you start, putting in modern cars in the old West and stuff like that.
So who is Zep to you as the creator of him, as a writer? Is he an alter ego? Is he a son? Is he a distant relative? Is he a friend? Is he an enemy? Like, who is he to you?
He was my toughest clients. And I have several of my clients in him. Some of the things he does, I have experienced. For example, when they're making the big transaction to hire Stackhouse, um, he has money, cash, in an attaché case, and he pushes it across the table uh, to where Stackhouse is sitting, but he doesn't remove his finger from the top of the attaché case. So it's like playing a game of chess where you move the figure, but it doesn't become official until you let go. And that's what he did. And I experienced that. So he pushes the money across in the attaché case, keeps his finger on it, and has a further discussion where, my mouth is watering to get a hold of that cash. And so
Yes.
and Stackhouse is also that's an interesting character as well because that's me. That
Oh,
is my
oh, okay. Okay.
that's me in the book. And I wrote a whole series of about Stackhouse in um, called Small Fortunes. This
Oh, wait, I don't have that one. I don't think I have that. I don't know.
I, I have to send it to you. It's a trilogy of three novellas.
Wow.
Uh, this was about our how I started the business with my wife, how I met her. Not that it's all fiction. So I changed everything and made it more interesting than simply meeting my future wife.
Yeah.
But the proposal and then how we ran our business and how she saved the business that we
Oh,
ran.
that's why. Yeah, we like her. That's why we like the wife. I remember that's our last
Yeah,
talk. Yes, we
yeah,
like the wife. She was good to you.
yeah, that's right. We did.
That's right. She was good for you. That's what they know. It's like behind a man was a great woman next to him and in front of him.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
that's right.
That's like that's like now it's coming back to me. Yes, that's right. We
Anyway,
like her.
so
Yeah.
so Steve Stackhouse was my character in this, and I brought him back in this in Zephyr's War, and he's reappearing again in Bloody Moon.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah, I like that. Wow, I love that. Um, just lastly, when do you know you're done with the book? That's always the thing. Because starting is one thing, but especially in this format of being a smaller story, when did there's an end, folks? There's an ending. There's a whole ending. What? How did you know this when this book was done?
well, in this particular book, I was struggled for an ending. I don't have a I seldom get writer's block. If I do get writer's block, I just simply write through it. Keep writing, and in a couple of sentences, it's gone. But in this particular book, I was struggling. I wanted a big ending, and I couldn't think of anything that was big enough. And one day it just came to me, just like I was going to an air show, saw people jumping out of a plane with parachutes, and it's like, bingo, there it is. What would it be like to jump out of an airplane that way?
Okay.
And uh, although the ending is different than that.
Oh no, well,
So
yeah, but it's not you. So, folks, that's not the ending. Yeah, that's not the ending. It's a whole, yeah, it's a whole different thing. Yeah, so that's not the ending. Um, it's a much more of a business ending. So, like the books, it's very different ending. That's very no. It's all I love hearing where inspiration comes from. So I think it's just fascinating when inspiration comes from. You never know, and how it manifests in a story. Zephyrs War is good, kids. I'm telling you, I want to see it as a series. I'm saying it out loud. Somebody's going to see this and be like, James is right. Let me read this book and see. Stranger things have happened, James. You never know. You never know.
James, I'm working on it. It's in the future though. I'm halfway through it right now.
Very good. I like that.
You
Um,
may find yourself in this one.
well, okay, good. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah. Thank you. I like that, James. I like that. I like that. Tell folks where they can get your books, period, this one and your books. Tell them where they can get them.
Well, they're available through Amazon or Barnes and Noble through their websites in the stores. And also, if somebody's interested in contacting me, they can do it through my website, which is jamesrgregory-books.com. jamesrgregory-books.com. And I'd be happy. I'm thrilled if people are interested enough to send me a note and have a thought on the book or criticism, anything at all. I try to respond to everyone.
Yes, I like that too. Thanks for being on the show. He will be back because I have another book I'm reading of his. So he'll be back for that one too soon. We'll get that set up. But Zephyr's War, go out and get it. James are great. Follow him. He has a page on also on Amazon. Follow that page. You'll see all his books on there too. Do that. I'm James Lott Jr. We're all about reading. We love reading. Reading's good. Reading's fun. Reading it takes you places you've never been before. And that's why I love about reading. There's some very interesting authors out there like James Gregory. So read. I'm James Lott Jr. We'll see you next time.